everybody? Welcome to another episode of StoryHive on Location in Vancouver with Beats, Eats, and more. Oh yeah, gusto. Let's go. We're broadcasting live right now on the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations. Yo, big shout outs to TELUS STORYHIVE for powering today's episode. I'm your host, Kazi, and today my guest is Steff Love, who is an award-winning producer, public art project manager, and arts advocate. Steff supports artist-led work rooted in intersectionality, mindfulness, and impact, helping creatives streamline their businesses so their visions can thrive. She's co-owner of Opal Projects, Inc., Astro Club Artist Facility, and co-founder of Astro Arts Festival, with deep experience bringing large-scale public art to life across Vancouver. Welcome, Steff.
Thank you for having me.
It is cold. We're on the street corner, but we're outside of Astro Club Artist Facility, and we're about to get a little bit of a tour and then also talk with Steff and get to know a bit more about them and their work.
All right, let's go. Come on in.
So this whole building came about when exactly?
Well, when we signed the lease for the building back in February 2024. Mm-hmm. And then we started construction on it in order to make it an artist studio, because before it was set up for a print shop. And we were going to finish in May, but unfortunately the city shut us down for about 7 months. We were buried under bureaucracy for a while, but we came out from it and had our grand opening on November 2024.
Okay, so it's been about a year now then.
Yeah, a little over a year.
Okay, and then what goes down in this space?
Oh, we have all kinds of creatives. We've got a barber, tattoo artists, we have photographers, videographers. We even have a development company that moves homes to communities that need them.
That is so cool.
It's incredible what they do. And so they see the vision, we all see the vision of like having a creative community around us.
And how did you get involved with this space? How did that first come about?
Well, my business partner is an artist, Drew Young.
Shout outs to Drew.
Yeah, big shout out to Drew. This couldn't happen without him and his vision. And we saw that the print shop was moving out of this building, and he called me and was like, hey, do you want to come for a tour? And I was like, sure. And he's like, what do you think about making this an art studio? And I am not an artist, but I would like to think of myself as an arts facilitator. And so I ran the budget and we decided to press play, and now here we are.
So how many studios exist in this space so far?
In this space, we have about, I want to say 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this space right here is like the gallery space?
It's a gallery space, and then during the summer, we can lift open this garage door to the street, and then we have a photo studio space as well that artists can take photos. Photographers use this as well for photography space.
We're about to also meet a little furry friend named Twiggy. Yeah, Twigsters! Oh, come. Come on, Twigs. Hey, yeah, buddy. Aw. Well, thank you so much for that mini tour. There was also a whole other floor upstairs, and then there was another like kind of connected to space. That's where we were with CL.
Yeah.
But upstairs there were offices and desks.
Yeah.
And kind of
like open studios.
Yeah, open studios, and then a whole like co-working kitchen.
Yeah, we got a boardroom up there, a Zoom booth, and so we understand that being an artist is also being a business, and so we wanted to put about 25% of our square footage towards facilitating the business aspect of being an artist. Yeah.
That's super cool. Well, Steff and I, we actually first met because we both worked for a non-for-profit together, Vancouver Mural Festival. And back then, you were the operations manager.
Yeah.
I was one of the programming coordinators, coordinating a lot of the programming and the performances, the different things that we would have that was part of the festival. And I would love to know, how did you first get into production and operations and project management? And what made you want to apply those skills into the arts world?
Oh, that's a really great question. I am originally from Alberta, and I resisted for a really long time, but I ended up being in oil and gas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me about this.
And so I did operations and project management in that like very corporate capacity for several years. And I wasn't necessarily values aligned with extraction industry.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot. But a good friend of mine is one of the founders of Vancouver Mural Festival. And I just so happened to run into him with Adrian, actually.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, you should come work for the festival. And I was visiting Vancouver at the time. And I was like, no, I don't know if I would really do that because I like live in Edmonton. But as things happened, I ended up coming out here to meet the team, and I decided that it was like more aligned with who I was, and here we are.
I wanted to ask you, especially in the city of Vancouver that we live in, why do you think it's important to be an arts advocate, especially coming from also your previous working background?
Yeah, I mean, the arts is, we see and view and use and benefit from the arts every day. Everybody does. But like there is some misalignment there, and we can kind of see it in like the ways in which we invest like publicly, like our public funding. Right now, there's a lot of talk about municipal budgeting. And so I think it's important to be an arts advocate because not all, like artists are consumed with their art, and that's how it should be. And so we need people who are looking at the systems in which they operate in so that they can continue to do that. And also like artist brains. And that's another reason why I'm in the business of art, is to like help artists thrive within the system that we currently are in, because my background is business. And so in order for artist spaces to be affordable in the city, to keep artists in the city, there needs to be art advocacy outside of just artists fighting for their space here to be able to create. And so that's just like a small part of it, of why it's important.
I love that.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you next, like, what does mindfulness and impact mean to you in the artist-led work that you support?
I think mindfulness, impact, it all affects like the legacy and the culture of the place that we're in. And so the importance of all of that to me is to like instill and to remind people of how much we actually do value art, and like how beauty is valuable, and outside of like the capitalistic value of things, the value of art and beauty and creation is all part of like what makes life interesting and what makes Vancouver beautiful.
I agree.
Yeah.
I love that you're touching upon all of this, because one thing you had said is just like art impacts us every day.
Yeah.
And we don't even realize it. And
Yeah.
in the society that we live in an unequitable world where for the value that art brings, even the healing that art can bring to people, it's like, why is it then we have, some occupations getting paid 6 figures when also art has this ability to also heal and change lives and impact and support people in such profound and deeply meaningful ways. And so, at least in this reality that we have to exist in, how can we make it more fair and even out,
That is a great question. I mean, what is left of a civilization when it no longer exists? It's the art. Like you think of all those like ancient civilizations, like the museums that we visit, like that is what's left, is the art.
The artifacts that end up getting collected and
like
excavated.
the pottery, the cave paintings, like that is what we can glean from how people lived back then, and this is how we're living now. And so where we invest our money and our attention is what will be our legacy of civilization for the future.
Whoa, I didn't even think about that. Especially like in the digital world that we live in, like what are they going to excavate and find?
Yeah, I mean, that'll be
us?
interesting because we like don't own anything anymore. Like all of the creative intellectual property is owned by large corporations. They're able to monetize it and to turn a profit on it. And like a conundrum that I've been really thinking about a lot and with other people who are in the industry and outside of the industry is how can we get away, or at least like build a system where creators can create what they want to create without it having to serve the purpose of profit. Because what happens is that if an artist is creating art in order to sell the art, it's not that it's tainted, but it's directed by whoever's paying for it.
Yes.
And so this happens with murals as well. So if a mural is commissioned by a client, the client has the directive, the creative direction. Like there's a style, of course, that the artist brings, and it's incredibly valuable. But ultimately, the client gets to decide what that artist is going to be creating. And so if that is all that is out in the world is just whatever businesses want, which is really to sell things, then what is left for the artist who just need to create for the sake of creation? And so how do we support that? Because it doesn't really work in the system that we're in right now. And that's why public funding is really important, which is like dwindling as we speak. But yeah, it's a challenge.
How do you protect an artist's vision while also working with municipalities and developers and funders? You know, being that bridge.
Yeah. So because my work is more operational and I protect like them as a person in a business, the person who protects the creative portion of it is actually my co-creator, Drew. And so he is an excellent curator, and he is the one who has to navigate those very tricky landscapes of like clients want one thing but doesn't want to compromise the vision of the artist. And so maybe you should talk to Drew
about that.
It's a really good question, and it's certainly a skill that you have to like understand where to give and where to take.
What do you find the most rewarding aspect of the work you get to do?
Community. Building and creating community, I guess that's the way that I create, is by by having this space in order for people to come to. Space is very limited in Vancouver.
It's true.
Especially for creative spaces. And for everybody here to understand like the vision and to all be creating, and everyone's just like really nice. Like I love coming here every day, and I do literally come here every day. Yeah, so that is probably the most rewarding part.
My next question for you is like, what problem were you trying to solve when creating Astro Club?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a problem that continues to get bigger in Vancouver, and not only for the creative industry, but for everyone, is that we are losing artists because they're moving because of affordability, because there are less and less spaces, because a lot of artists' spaces in Vancouver are actually in buildings that are set for demolition.
Yeah.
Because they need to be low cost. And so property owners are sitting on these empty buildings, and if they are generous enough to be able to rent them out to artists, it'll be at low cost. But the problem with that is that they disappear. And a lot of them have been disappearing. I mean, look at the motel. The motel, like
the City Center Artist Lodge, for anyone who doesn't know.
Yes. And that will be replaced with a building which will have 4,000 square feet of artist space, which pales in comparison to what it was right now. And so that kind of is happening all over the city. And so starting Astro, we're kind of in the same position. We have a little bit of control because we own the lease, but if the building is sold, then we don't know. Everything that we've built here, we would need to go somewhere else. So,
what does that look like to try to, I guess, move towards something more permanent? Like, what does the city need?
You have to dream big. You have to understand how systems work. You have to look higher and bigger, and networking. And by networking, what I really mean is relationships. really matter to like find the people who are aligned with those values and see the value of what we're trying to do here, not only just here in this ecosystem, but for the city.
Yeah.
Working with politicians, because everything starts at a policy level. And like that's a big part of my advocacy is speaking with people who run policy, people who work at the city. Like all of those things are how art spaces could potentially benefit or stay alive.
I'm curious if you've traveled to other places where you've seen them as like model cities of doing it well and that you take inspiration from.
I mean, look at France.
Okay.
They have a basic income for artists. What a dream.
I didn't know this.
What a dream. Oh, and then
Wow.
I think, where is it? Was it Sweden? No, it was Ireland, actually. Ireland just piloted a program for basic income for artists, and it was very successful so that artists could create. And so, like, if I am in a federal level of arts advocacy, then that would be something I could advocate for. It's just difficult when there is such prominent need for basic needs. Like when we have the downtown east side, having a basic income for artists is a tough ask. And so maybe reframing it is how I can navigate that, but it's also important. Like I think all of these things need to be done simultaneously because there are other advocates as well for other things. But
actually, I wanted to ask you right now, like, what do you think is like a best practice for bookkeeping that artists especially should implement now if they don't have this in their practice already?
I'm going to give you some best practices.
Yes.
Here we go.
Let's go.
So it's super important that you have a record of everything. I think that if you have a business, you should have a business credit card. It's probably easier to like keep all your expenses separated, but if you can't, then all of your transactions should be recorded once a month. And that way it's not overwhelming at the end of the year trying to figure out what receipt goes for what. And then you should sort your receipts by month in like a different folder or something.
AKA save your receipts first to sort them.
Yeah. And like, because if you don't have your receipt and audit comes around, then you can't expense whatever it is that you claimed. And then you're losing money. So so once a month, do your bookkeeping. And by that, I mean like record all of your transactions and save your receipt, like organize your receipts every month and just make it easier. If you do it month to month, then you don't have a mountain of scariness at the end of the year.
This is why I want to get ahead on 2025 because I haven't been doing it month to month. And I don't want it come April or February to be that mountain.
Yeah. And then like by January 1st, you're done for the whole year.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are good. This is really good. And I'm happy to say I'm doing those things other than the month-to-month situation.
Okay. Also save your GST.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. If you have a GST number, put that money away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when they ask for it.
At the end of the year, they're going to ask for 30% and you're going to have to give it to them. And if you've spent it already, that's a hard pill to swallow.
How about the GST you spend?
Yeah, so that will, come out in the wash. But if you, not only just your GST, but also your taxes. And so like if you have that put away in like a high interest savings account, then it can still be like working for you and it won't be a surprise at the end. Your GST is like, it's like a balance, like because you spend it and you whatever.
Yeah.
But for your taxes, if you put 30% away, then because you're going to have to pay it. But then after you expense everything, then you'll have like a little bit of savings at the end of the year.
Yes. I didn't even think about the geniusness of putting it in a high interest savings account.
Yeah.
So then you're having it work for you, gain you a little bit more.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. It's better than being negative at the end of the year. But you know what? I also understand that like when you're an artist and you get any money, you have to use it all because that's just where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And if you come under the threshold of needing to pay taxes, then that's okay. But if you do have to pay taxes, then it really, really hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're like, where am I going to come up with $3,000? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, there's a payment plan for that.
Is there?
Yeah. You can
Okay.
do installments. There is interest involved, of course.
Brutal.
Of course, there's interest. I mean, it's not as bad as like a credit card, 19%.
Yeah.
But it exists.
Yeah.
But they somehow make it manageable,
Interesting.
Yeah. You didn't know about that?
Yeah, I think I've heard about it, but I think it's like you have 3 months to pay it off.
Like anyone who's watching the stream right now who's in their 20s are like, oh man, I'm just gonna tune out this time.
Oh
like I
my
don't want to
God.
face my taxes. I don't want to face this right now.
It's brutal.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to talking about Astro a bit more. I would love to know, what do you feel like you've seen as the impact on the neighborhood and the community since this place has come here? And we're in Mount Pleasant neighborhood, for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
We're right on 4th Avenue and Columbia.
We're right by Olympic Village.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the impact for Astro, I'll speak on a personal level.
Yes,
For me, is like having the space here has allowed me to approach all of the different spaces that are around me. Like there's like an electrician store across the street. There's like Upcellera over here. There's like a matcha green tea place over here. There's like dance studio, like Culturally Defines over there. And like being able to be like, hey, I'm from Astro Club and like this is what we're doing. Like, what are you doing? And so being able to create like a broader community because we have the space there, for me, that has been very valuable. And for the community, like I see, for example, we have our barber, which he had never like had his own business as a barber before or a sense of that type of community. And I've really seen him grow and like light up because every day he gets to come here and he socializes with the same people. And now he's like, oh, maybe I can get into carving. And now he's carving like wood. And then he got into Japanese like ink printing or something, like water ink printing. And so he's like, oh, maybe I can make clothing. And so people are inspired when they're here by the other people that are here because everybody is creating. And so I think that's like a huge value for the community to be able to like take something that is usually very like insular, very like isolating because you're in your own brain creating your own things and just seeing people and people are great.
Oh, what do you dream and hope for for this space come years down the road?
Like my 10-year plan.
You're like, I've got that.
I do.
5-year, 3-year.
Well, it all hinges on so many things. Like when I said dream big earlier, my big dream is to buy this building and to buy the building that Ciel is in and create an arts hub, but a multi-use. Because the problem it's not a problem, it's just capitalism.
Yeah.
But the challenge with having like an arts space is that it needs to be like supplemented in order to operate. Like we need to find operational funding somewhere. And only relying on public funding like the federal government or municipal government or whatever, it's not very sustainable either. And so when you bring in commercial or make mixed use, so let's say this building is zoned for 6 stories.
Okay.
And right now it's only 2. And so let's say we rebuild, we've got 6 stories, right? Astro, top 2 floors. The rest of the floor is all market commercial.
Okay.
And then that can supplement what we're doing up at the top 2 floors. And so that's just that is my dream.
Business plan.
Because otherwise, as I said before, if somebody else buys this building, then where do we go? What happens to all the work that we put in here with the community? Where do our people go? Where are the people from the City Center Lodge going to go? They built a community out there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about permanence and solving that problem that we talked about before. We're losing art space. Okay, let's build permanent art space.
I love this idea.
Yeah.
And I could see so many other groups filling in the rest of those 4 other floors.
Yeah.
You know? Well, just like CL, I have fun rapid fire questions for you. Hardest part of the job?
Hardest part of the job is getting people to read my emails. I laugh
TLDR, but still they won't read.
Yeah. Or they'll just read the subject line
Yeah.
and nothing else, but everything that's important is inside the body of the email, and then I get questions anyway. And I'll be like, "Did you read my email?" And they'll be like, no. I'm like, "You should read my email."
That's what the subject line should say. Don't ask me. You
Read
should
the email.
read the email.
You'd think that'd be implied, but it's fine.
One word that kills creativity.
Money.
Ooh. Ooh. Go-to foods after a long, hard day.
Noodle soup.
Laksa?
Laksa. Yeah. We gotta go.
We gotta go.
We gotta go. We've been talking about this since 2022.
2022, fam.
For real.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What you're most proud of that people don't always see?
People don't see most of the work that I do, I would say. And that's kind of great, because if I'm not doing anything, I'm doing the work that, like, if I stop doing it, then people start to notice. But because no one is noticing, it means I'm doing it well. So I'm proud of that.
If Astro is the blueprint, what 3 values must always stay intact?
Community. Creativity. And good energy.
Hey, having fun.
Yeah.
Most exciting thing to you about public art in Van City right now?
That's a very timely question, seeing as public art was just cut from the City of Vancouver's budget. But
boo!
The most exciting thing is not knowing what is next and how things can change. We have a municipal election coming up next year. Please vote. And that could change the course of the creative landscape for the city. So that's exciting.
Last question.
Okay.
In 2026, my commitment to the Van City art scene is?
Giving it my all, keeping it alive, and being hopeful for the future in very uncertain times.
This was such a great, inspiring convo. I'm so glad we sat down to do this, Steff.
Me too.
I appreciate all the business advice, bookkeeping advice, very practical advice, truly, that you've shared with us today, and also giving us a tour of Astro Club Artist Facility.
Yeah.
What do people need to know about what's coming up? Anything you want to plug right now about maybe something that might be going down here, or maybe the next festival?
Yeah, next festival, we're going to be having it same time, second weekend of August. And it's our 2nd year, and we're hoping that more people jump on board. They see the vision. Hopefully we're expanding more into East Van, and yeah, just stay tuned.
Okay, and where can people find y'all?
We have an Instagram, Astro Club Artist Facility, and we also have a website, astroarts.ca, and that will automatically link to our festival website, and that's where we are found.
I look forward to maybe a couple of years from now when we look back on this interview and we see what's transpired since then.
Yeah.
You know, and that this conversation has been locked in, clocked. And that some of these dreams and things we talked about have manifested. Yeah.
I hope so too.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much for making time, being here, sharing your story. Shout outs to everyone who's tuned in onto the live stream, watching the replay after. If you are a creative in Van City and feel like you've got a story to share or a really cool space that you want to give us a tour of, that you feel is contributing to the creative scene that I don't know about yet, please scan the QR code that you'll see popped up on the edit of this video. There's a form there that you can fill out, and you might be the one sitting next to me and maybe another lovely animal as well. Big shout outs to Twiggy.
Twiggy.
Yeah, and one more time, shout out to TELUS STORYHIVE for powering today's episode. And big shout outs to Jam and Cameron Josh, who's our live stream operator for today. My name is Kazi, and y'all have been watching StoryHive on location in Vancouver with beats, eats, and more. What's up, y'all? It's Kazi here. If you are a dancer, chef, artist, musician, or creative based here in Vancouver, BC, I want y'all to fill out this form that you can find right here on the QR code and tell us more about you. And who knows, maybe you'll be sitting next to me sharing your story on TELUS STORYHIVE on location with beats, eats, and more.